Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of SU Football Weekly with Coach Joe Austin. How's everybody doing tonight? Can I hear a round of applause? We want to welcome you here to Week 11 of this show here for SU Football Weekly with Coach Joe Austin. I'm Rob Hipp. Thanks for joining us here tonight. Last week, Southwestern defeated Howard Page 54-17 on the road in Brownwood. Let's give the Pirates a round of applause on a big victory. We'll go ahead and step aside before we talk to Joe Austin. We'll take a look at some of those highlights. Stay with us, and those here in the audience watch the screen. We'll play those highlights now. Down and goal for the Pirates. They've got the ball on the Yellow Jacket 3. Hover shotgun, one receiver to either side. Hover going to keep it, goes up the middle, and Hover has the 3-yard touchdown, quarterback keeper, and the Pirates take the lead at the 8:13 mark.
That first interception took a couple of bounces before it landed in your hands.
Oh, yeah. I really thought he caught it, but then Aaron and Evan, they made the collision. The ball just popped up, and I just went for it.
You took it all the way, too.
Yes, sir.
On the left side, pitches up front to Markel Henderson on the shovel, and Markel has the touchdown. 14 yards on the shovel pass. Markel Henderson. Yards by David Brandenburg. Wow, what a play by Brandenburg. Down and 10. Pirates will start this one on their own 40. Pass wide open into the hands of Anthony Stevens, and Anthony Stevens will take it 60 yards for the touchdown.
And we saw you scored your first college touchdown tonight. Talk about that experience.
It felt great, man. We've been working on it all week in practice. I mean, we've been executing it. The guys were blocking up front. Fred just threw a perfect pass, and it was just a touchdown from there on.
Receivers to the left, 2 to the right. Second down and 11 from the 50. In motion now as Castillo just came in. Fred Hover, he's going to pass over the middle, looking in the direction. And bumped and caught by Max Patton. Wow, what a play by Patton as he leapt up near the 20, and it's caught. The red zone now, first down and 10. Hover on the Yellow Jacket 19. Hover flips it back to Castillo on the right side across the 10. Castillo leaps in, and he is close. Did he go out of bounds? He's got the touchdown, 19 yards on the sweep to Castillo. first down and 10 from the Yellow Jacket 46. Hover looking to pass over the center. Brandenburg reaches up. He has the ball at the 20. Brandenburg to the right side to the 15, spins his way forward, and it's a first down in the red zone for the Pirates. Brandenburg coming alive here in the third quarter. Ball in the Yellow Jacket 6 and get a first down near the 3. Hover going to keep it here. Hover goes in, touchdown, 6-yard. Quarterback keeper for Fred Hover, his third rushing touchdown of the afternoon.
We didn't play great. Our offense was able to generate some big plays, so we kind of overwhelmed them schematically. But we've got a lot to do. We had so many personal fouls and discipline things. We're going to try to grow and get out of our program.
Well, once again, let's give it up for Southwestern. Some great highlights there. Thank you to Carl Schoening for putting those together. Southwestern doing a great job on the road. We'll talk to Coach Joe Austin here in just a little bit. Again, welcome to SU Football Weekly with Coach Joe Austin. I'm Rob Hipp. We appreciate you joining us here from the Sheraton Hotel live here in Georgetown, Texas. Southwestern 5-4 overall. They're 4-4 in the ASC. Southwestern finished with one of their biggest offensive outputs of the season. Coach, they had a solid running game. First of all, congratulations on the win. The offense had some big plays in this one, as we know, Coach. Southwestern led 40-17 at the halftime. Can you highlight your offense and some of the big plays that Southwestern had in this game?
Well, there were a lot of them. At one point, we scored on three straight plays, and we had 3 straight one-play touchdown drives. I can say pretty confidently in my 19 years, I've never had 3 straight one-play touchdown drives, and that's a good way to grab hold of the game. And, of course, some turnovers from our defense really helped with that also. Some really good special teams play. So it's a whole team effort that goes into those one-play drives. So many players chipped in. We saw Anthony Stevens, who'll be on the show later. We saw David Brandenburg set a record with a 94-yard touchdown. We saw Eric Ovalle make a really, really big play. Just so many players chipped in. Fred Hover had a 65-yard touchdown run that got called back, was his biggest play of the day. So we were able to do some things, I think, and I said in the interview, they showed a little clip of that schematically we were able to overwhelm them, and I think we really had them right where we wanted them from an execution standpoint and from the schematics, what we wanted to do offensively. They had to commit so many people to stopping the triple option things that we're doing that it left some really big play opportunities, and of course they didn't stop it all that effectively because Brandenburg had that 94-yard play. So the yin and yang, so to speak, of our play action with our run game really worked well. And it allowed us to get out to a really big lead at halftime.
Well, Coach, once again, the Southwestern run defense only allowing 99 yards, so a little more than what we've seen, but still fairly impressive nonetheless against Howard Payne, allowing those 99 rushing yards. One thing very impressive, though, Coach, they shut out Howard Payne in the second half. A question here that I just got to ask it. You've got to be happy with the defense, Coach.
Well, happy with aspects of the defense. I was a lot more happy with what we did in the second half. Some really good individual performances. Eddie Evanchek, for example, freshman safety number 32, name that is really coming on, and you were probably calling it a lot on Saturday. Had 18 tackles, tackle for a loss, a sack, a pass breakup. Really stepped up well. We weren't happy with our first half defense, and by we I'm talking about our coaching staff and even our defensive players. There were some things that I think we thought we could do better. We actually gave up more points than is their season average, and they're a team that only has 1 win. So we weren't happy a lot of it. And one of the things that happened, it's a recurring theme, and I mentioned this in the interview that we showed also, our discipline wasn't great. We extended 3 drives with penalties. And, of course, we talked about that in our ETBU game. We extended 3 drives with penalties. They all turned into touchdowns. Now, Howard Payne wasn't able to turn them all into touchdowns. They turned some of them into touchdowns. And that's not at all what our formula is for us to be a good football team. We're not talented enough to be able to extend drives and win games against really good teams. Going back to ETBU, we talked about that 6 weeks ago in the season. So that's what we need to fix. A lot of the execution was good. We got them into third down situations. We would have been off the field. We committed some penalties that extended it. So to answer your question, long story short, it's a mixed bag. Some things that were good, but some things that we really want to clean up, and we have to clean up moving forward.
Well, Coach, can you describe some other areas in the game? And we'll talk a little bit more about some of those areas to clean up. But right now, talk a little bit more about some of the areas of the game that you were impressed with, some things that Southwestern did well that you were impressed with, Coach.
We had one of our better games in terms of our punt return. We had some really good punt returns by David Brandenburg and by Austin Castilleja. We actually had a punt we blocked that they picked up and ran for a first down. I think I've only seen that a few times. It's pretty rare. You block it, and it rolls forward just enough that their guys can pick it up. So an unfortunate thing. But we did a really good job in that part of the game, which was good to see. Overall, again, I think it comes down to what I'm happy with was the balanced effort that we got from a lot of people. We had guys like Eddie Evanchek stepping up and doing some great things on defense. Another good game by Aaron Robinson, who we're going to see in a few minutes. Several different guys were able to get sacks by the time the game was over with. And we talked already about the spread on the offense. Touchdowns by so many people. We saw Markel Henderson's touchdown. Just a lot of really good balanced effort from the offensive guys.
Well, Coach, you've mentioned several of those players already, so maybe a rhetorical question here, but Brandenburg had some great plays as well, including the one that we saw in the highlight where, man, he took that bad boy right back to the house. And you got to be impressed with the Southwestern fan base that turned out, a 2-hour drive from Georgetown, but a lot of folks from Southwestern. We were on the visitor side. Anthony Stevens, of course, getting his first touchdown, his collegiate career, I believe. We'll talk about that. And then other players such as Castilleja. Can you highlight some more of those players that really got in the action and saw some limelight for Southwestern this past weekend, Coach?
Well, I think we hit on most of them. We hadn't talked yet about David. A really good effort by David, both in the rushing game and the receiving game, which is great to see. We didn't talk maybe about the offensive line, and we're continuing to play 8, 9, 10 guys. You can't really list them all. And it was great to see Ant. He goes by Ant, by the way, Anthony Stevens. So I call him Ant by accident. Ant mentioned them, which was great in his interview. He said, they blocked it up, and then Fred put it out there. Statistically, you said you weren't going to mention too many numbers, right? But so we'll fill this in. The stats, and Jesse Blanchard, our SID, is here. We're going to figure out the stats eventually. Fred should officially have 7 touchdowns. He had 4 rushing. And then actually 3 passing. The shovel pass we saw by Markel, they credit as a rush. That's technically a pass. And then the play to David, it's either a school record rush or a school record pass, depending on how they score it. When you watch the film, it was a forward pass. They scored it at halftime as a pass, then changed it after the game to a run. I don't really care what they do as long as they do something. But from my perspective, because it's a school record distance, and the longest play in the conference for the season, I like him to get it right, both in the terms of the distance and if it's a run or a pass. They had it as a 91-yard play. It was a 96-yard play, as you mentioned, or 94-yard play from the 6-yard line. So we're hoping that we can get to Howard Payne to correct the distance, because it's the longest play in the conference this year. And then we're hoping that they can get it scored as a pass. Because if you're going to have a record play, you'd like to get it right. If it's a 20-yard touchdown, if you call a run or pass, a forward or a backwards pass, not a huge deal. But in a 94-yard play, I think you want to get it right for posterity. We'll see. When you talk about scoring, if anyone's curious, the home team is in control of the statistics. Now, the visiting sports information office can have some input and give some feedback. We looked at the film. We think we need to get this adjusted. This kid recovered the fumble versus this kid, and they may or may not take it. And we've had some interesting scoring. We've had, for example, kneel downs that they give Fred negative rushing yards. That's not how it's supposed to be scored. We've had snaps over the head where they've given Fred negative rushing yards. That's a team rush, and you just kind of, you deal with it. So I'm not complaining, but just giving a long answer, I guess, to your question about good performances and the intricacies of scoring. And we'll see if David ends up with the school record for rushing or passing when we get things sorted out at the end of the season.
Well, Coach, you mentioned kind of a segue into the question that I had. You've already answered that, talking about the play of Fred Hover. A lot of touchdowns he accounted for. And also for Southwestern, really chewing up the yardage. I believe close to 700 yards. I don't want to throw out any misinformation, but by far that had to be the largest offensive output that we've seen this season by Southwestern, at least from what I've seen. I may be wrong, but that was a pretty impressive offensive game for the Pirates.
It was a good one. We had at halftime 21 plays and 40 points. That's pretty efficient. Fred officially, again, should be credited with 7 total touchdowns, 4 rushing and 3 passing. That would be the most that anyone's produced in our conference this year. And again, we'll see how they end up. The Markel Henderson shovel pass, they need to get right. And then with the Brandenburg play, it's going to come down to what their official scorer says. If they call it a pass, then it's a touchdown pass for Fred. If they call it a rush, then it'll be just a rush, and it'll be whatever they say. But Fred continues to play well. It's taking care of the football, and we've really cut down a lot of our fumbles and turnovers. And obviously, Fred has the ball in his hands a lot. That's good to see, and we'll talk more in the last segment. We're going to need Fred to have another, really good All-American type game for us to have a chance this weekend.
Well, Coach, you briefly talked a while ago about some of those mental mistakes. Plays for Southwestern, won a touchdown run getting called back. Coach, a tough one on that end for Southwestern in the brief post game as well with Chuck Crazy. You had mentioned that. Can you talk a little bit more about some of those mistakes and other areas that Southwestern has a little bit of room for improvement on, Coach?
Yeah, we continue to be one of the most penalized teams in the nation, both in terms of yards and penalties, and it really flies in the face of what the profile of our students are. We're supposed to have really smart kids, and penalties aren't necessarily that they're not smart kids. We're not playing very disciplined. We had a player ejected in the first half on a play that he just should have stayed away from. I mentioned the 3 defensive drives we extended by false starts, which are concentration, by personal fouls, which are just mental toughness and lack of focus, things that have been really problematic because they're going to hurt us in difficult games. Previewing the fourth quarter again, you can bring this back up if you want to. We didn't play well enough to beat Texas Lutheran, who's a ranked team and 7-2, and beat 2 teams that we've lost to. If we're going to extend 3 drives, if we're going to lose 65-yard touchdowns on penalties, we blocked a guy in the back that Fred was 5 yards in front of. Just focus things, but and not necessarily effort, but focus and mental toughness and discipline. We have to get rid of that. We're not a good enough team to beat good football teams if we make those mistakes. But I always talk to the team about the Denison game. Denison's going to make the playoffs. They're going to win their conference, and they're going to be a playoff team. And we handled them. We took them apart pretty good because we didn't commit penalties. We didn't extend drives. We didn't turn the ball over. We were a really good, clean team. And we'll have to be a really good, clean team again this weekend because, again, Texas Lutheran 7-2. They're nationally ranked. They've beaten ETBU. They've beaten Louisiana College, teams that we've lost to.
Coach, you probably already mentioned some of this in your final statements. What did you tell the team after the game in Brownwood?
I didn't tell them anything.
There we go. Perfect. Well, Coach, we appreciate it. Your final thoughts. You've talked a lot about this ball game. Your final thoughts as we wrap up the first segment here.
Do you want me to elaborate on my didn't tell them anything?
If you want to.
Well, usually come in and you do a debrief, but it's a weird debrief because your offense just had a ton of really good plays. They feel great. The defense we weren't happy with in the first half, and Coach Kriesel came in and dressed them down a little bit at halftime. So it was a really weird head coaching situation. What do you say when you feel like half of your team really did well, and for one half, a group of your defensive team didn't do very well? So I really had nothing to say. We went back, we watched the film, and had some cool down time and some soak time, and we talked about things on Sunday.
Well, Coach, as always, we appreciate your accessibility this season. Congratulations on the win again. And I like, even in a big win, it just speaks a lot on your character and what the foundation is for Southwestern Pirate football, that even in a big win, there's still a lot of room for improvement, a lot of mistakes that were made that, you're right, are not going to carry you in really big games. And so that's a great thing, of course, what you guys are doing at Southwestern. Coach, we'll take a quick break. We'll bring on some of our special guests. Stay with us, friends. SU Football Weekly with Coach Joe Austin continues here on SHN Sports. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to SU Football Weekly with Coach Joe Austin. I'm Rob Pipp, now joined by the junior defensive back, number 3, Aaron Robinson. Let's give it up for Aaron. Thanks for being here, man. I was just talking to Aaron earlier, and for some reason, every time I start bringing up Markel Henderson in those suits, and then we started talking about other things very briefly. I don't even know what we were talking. We were just having a good conversation, man.
Yeah.
So, well, from Spring, Texas, Spring High School, you won the Director of Athletics Award here at Southwestern. Also mentioned on D3Football.com as a Team of the Week back in 2016. You were the All-SCAC team in 2016, and you are majoring in physics, man. I'm going to ask you about that here in a little bit. I think that's pretty – is that right?
Time out.
Hold on. We
switched my major.
Okay, major got switched. So, see, that's why we do this. So we'll change that here in just a little bit. So, well, Aaron, can you talk a little – before we talk about that, can you talk a little bit about Spring, Texas, man, growing up? And if you grew up in Spring, just talk about that and your high school days and some of your favorite moments from high school.
Let's see. Back at Spring, we were just like we're all together playing football. It just was like a family friend thing. It just felt at home, you know what I mean? So favorite plays is in practice. We're always joking around, making fun of each other. It's just always wild, honestly. So
awesome. Well, you had a few high school accomplishments too in Spring, if I'm not mistaken. The team, can you talk about some of those? You guys had some pretty good seasons there for a while, and
yeah, my team, we were the first team in a really long time to go to the playoffs. It was just a really special group. We've known each other since like elementary schools.
And it's important, man, growing up in a town. And, Texas is football, so that's something to be great. We've been blessed here in Georgetown with the high school team here making the playoffs quite a bit. But, a team that's in a drought, and then you get that, you suddenly springboard. You're now the hero of Spring, Texas, man.
Yeah, it was something special because in the next two groups, I think they went to the playoffs too. So we sparked something there.
Awesome, man. Well, I think that's something that's commendable. Well, talk about some of your hobbies, Aaron, outside of football. I know there's a lot going on with football and at SU, but talk a little bit about some of the things you enjoy doing outside of football.
I don't know. I like working out and just hanging with friends. Playing video games, just kicking it with the boys, basically.
Awesome, man. Hey, I like kicking it, man. That's the way to do it. Well, can you tell us, how did you end up, from Spring, Texas, how did you end up here at Southwestern University playing ball under Coach Joe Austin?
See, when I came to the campus, I felt really welcome. And my mom loved how small the campus was and just how well that the teachers are with you and everything like that. Everything was walking distance. You didn't have to drive anywhere. You didn't get distracted by so many big things like other big campuses, like the partying and all that stuff. It's really just low-key and simple and safe here. It's a good area to be in.
Awesome. Well, as we continue to talk to Aaron Robinson, the defensive back here at Southwestern University, you corrected me because I was looking online and it said you were majoring in physics, so now we got to set the story straight. What did you switch to, man, and tell us a little bit about that? You don't have to tell us why you switched, but what did you switch to?
I switched to communications. I think I want to do something sort of like this, maybe with football or other sports, honestly.
Awesome. Well, that's one reason we really enjoy interviewing you guys is because we're always looking for talent. And you got a voice. Let's give it up, man. He's got a good voice for this, man. Let's give Aaron a clap for that,
you're being
man.
Way too generous.
So we appreciate it. Well, last week some things that Coach talked about that can be improved on, but overall, from a fan base, a lot of folks saying great performance last week. What were some of the things in the game that you can take away and really highlight some positive things from that game last week up in Brownwood?
I felt like we came together as a team. We made plays. We kept each other in it. Even though we were winning, we still kept each other in it, honestly. So with that being said, we came together, honestly.
Well, as a junior on the team, can you talk a little bit about your defensive teammates and a young defensive core at that and maybe some of the guys on the team that you look up to?
Okay. Everybody's coming back this year, so you're right. We have a young defensive. But our defensive backs are really young, so when they make a mistake, all the older guys come together and put them back in the game. So we have to focus on that and just stay with it, honestly. And what was the other question?
And just kind of your overall assessment, your camaraderie, some of those things with the defense. think you kind of answered it just then,
Yeah.
talking about how you guys work together. So, well, you know, I always like to ask you guys up here when we're interviewing you, where are some areas that you feel on a personal level that you may be able to improve on a team, if you want to answer that?
I would say just being less selfish, and I know Coach Austin was talking a couple weeks ago about missing the calls and stuff like that. Maybe pay attention more to the sidelines, like stop, like when everybody's coming together in the middle. I gotta pay more attention, honestly.
Well, so far this season, as we continue to talk to Aaron Robinson here, just a few more questions, Aaron. What's been your favorite moment so far this season, man? You guys have had some big games, some impressive games. If you can kind of look back, and I know it kind of hit you all at once, but if you could pop the first thing that pops into your mind, maybe what's been one of the favorite moments so far this season for you? You've had some big plays out there, man.
I think, okay, so they counted Jackson's pick as an interception, but I think that was a forced fumble. I'm not going to lie. I hit the guy, the ball popped up, Jackson gets it, and I'm all psyched up about it. I'm thinking he's about to score, and then Coach says, that was an interception.
Oh, man. Well, hey, that's something to think about. Well, as I mentioned a while ago, one final game here in the season. What's going through your mind right now, man?
We got to end off strong. We had a great week of practice. Defense was all hyped. So I think offense is they've been doing well for the last couple weeks, really well, actually. So I think defense is going to hold their end so we can get this dub.
Well, Aaron, just a few more questions here. Who's been some of your biggest influences that have really helped get you to where you're at today, young man?
My mom.
Awesome. And I was with my grandma today, and it's always about the moms and the grand. Let's give it up for the moms and the grandmoms. Can we give it up for them? I just wanted to keep y'all clapping. Jim, I like when Jim claps over there, Aaron. He's a good clapper. So, you know, we got to keep Jim hopping over here. Where do you want to be after college? You know, you talked about switching your major to you kind of mentioned earlier maybe doing something like this. Where would you like to be, man?
I think I'm going to stick around Austin for a little bit.
Awesome. And there's plenty of jobs, plenty of opportunities in Austin. And you know, with the university here at Southwestern, the fine staff and all the people here in this community, as long as you guys work hard, we've always got your back, man. So if there's opportunities, you're going to find those, and we're excited about that. Well, Miss Mickey right over here on the camera on the left, as I told you a while ago, when you sat down, we had 2.8 million people on the YouTube stream right now. Right there, Aaron, who do you want to send a shout-out to? A little love tonight here from Georgetown, Texas, man.
I'm pretty sure my mom's watching, so how you doing? Love you.
Awesome. Well, Aaron, we appreciate you. Can we give it up one more time? Aaron Robinson from Southwestern. Been a great season, young man. Looking forward to the final game. So thank you for being here tonight. We'll take another quick break. We'll bring up another guest. Stay with us. SU Football Weekly with Coach Joe Austin continues here on SHN Sports. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to SU Football Weekly with Coach Joe Austin. Appreciate everybody being here today, as we are now joined here by our special guest, Southwestern University junior wide receiver number 14, Anthony Stevens. Let's give a round of applause for Anthony for being here tonight. You know, it's already like, it's because the time changed. Normally I'm looking outside and I see daylight, man. So appreciate you being here, Anthony, from Houston, Texas. You went to Channelview High School. Did you grow up in Houston?
Yes, sir. My whole life I grew up in Houston.
Awesome, man. Well, went to Channelview High School, majoring, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, because a while ago we found out, majoring in pre-engineering. Is that correct?
Sir.
Oh, see, man. That's why we got to check, man. We'll talk about that in a minute.
Yes,
what
sir.
are you majoring in now?
I'm majoring in kinesiology.
Kinesiology.
Yes,
all right. Awesome, man. Okay. And you were minoring in exercise and sports studies.
Nah, not anymore.
So we'll just put a scratch through that.
Yes, sir.
There we go. See, that's why we do what
I
we
actually
do.
talked to Coach Ebo about that already, so I don't know why changes aren't made.
We'll make sure the website gets updated.
Yes, sir.
Man. I need to start calling ahead, a week in advance on you guys. So awesome, man. Well, can you talk a little bit about growing up in Houston, Texas, and some of the highlights you had there at Channelview High School? And I'm going to ask you a very important question after that. But before you talk about the big one that I mentioned to you,
yes, sir.
Just talk about your high school days and what it was like in Houston.
Growing up in Houston, it was cool to me. I grew up a family of 4. I had a sibling, younger sister. I'm sorry about that. Excuse me. Had a younger sister, older brother. We were very entitled to each other. We were tied together. Like, we did a lot of things together, and it was a good experience. I grew up under. At Channelview, I was up under Coach Avrion Hurts, which is actually the father of Jalen Hurts, the Alabama quarterback.
Awesome,
yes,
man.
Sir. So at Channelview, I think I recorded 15 receptions my senior for 350 yards.
Awesome, man.
Yes, sir. It was a good senior.
Well, some of your hobbies, I know playing football here and things at Southwestern. Actually, before I jump into that, I told you I was going to ask you another question, man. I was building up the anticipation, Anthony. You graduated cum laude in high school. Let's give him a round of applause for that, man. Talk about that and what that was like. I think that's impressive, man.
Channelview has a good education system, so I was under good arms, and I took AP classes, and I also did dual credit classes at the San Jacinto College, which is like 5 minutes from Channelview. And I had a GPA of a 3.86 out of a 4.0 scale.
Yeah, let's clap for that. I think that's awesome.
Yes, sir. And my SAT score was a 1620, and my ACT was a 22. So in those areas, I pulled through pretty strong. So I felt like that was good. That was good enough to get me into Southwestern. So
absolutely. Yes, and with those scores, the paper was hot, man. I'm talking it was on fire because those are good numbers, man.
Yes, sir.
So
appreciate it.
Well, as we continue to talk to Anthony Stevens here, the wide receiver from Southwestern, some of your hobbies outside of football, man.
Outside of football, I really don't have many hobbies, but I like to read whenever I get some time. Read sports magazines and look at sports blogs and things like that. But I don't do too much outside of football.
Well, talking about Southwestern from down in the Houston area, how did you end up here in Georgetown, Texas, man?
Before here, I've never even heard of Georgetown where I got here. But it's a beautiful town, A lot of nice people here. And I heard about the Austin area, but Georgetown was not familiar to me at any point.
So how did you kind of find out about Southwestern and Georgetown, man?
Over a broadcast I seen online, and I seen what they offered, and they offered my major, and Coach Winsett was already sending me letters and things like that, and so we just made an agreement, and I just came here.
Awesome. Yeah, I think it's kind of neat now. Of course, right now we're streaming this live on YouTube, and it's just weird because you look back over 10 years and you didn't have a lot of stuff live streamed, and now you're talking about you found out through Southwestern through a stream that they had, and I think it's important and just the power of the internet. And now we're blessed to have you here in Georgetown, Texas, and all the great things that you bring, Anthony. Well, we got to talk about this. You get your first college touchdown last week. Is that correct?
Yes,
your
sir.
First college touchdown. Let's give him a round of applause on that. You get your first college touchdown. Can you describe the experience and what you were feeling, through that touchdown? Did that even go through your mind saying, man, I got my touchdown, man? Talk about that.
Oh, man, it felt great because Coach has been telling me for weeks now that I should have had a touchdown. And when the time came, we executed everything that we were working on in practice, and it looked beautiful. And going through my head, I was thinking, before the game, I'm thinking, I'm not going to score. It's a possibility, but I'm not actually really going to score. And when it actually happened, I was very excited. So that was great
And
I was good to be able
now
to
you may be
experience that.
thinking, I'm going to score now, right,
Yeah,
before the
yeah,
game.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
well, how did you get the – Coach told me, how'd you get the nickname Ant, man? How'd you get that nickname?
My name is actually Lafayette Anthony Stevens Jr. And like a lot of people can't pronounce Anthony, so they just say Ant, and that's how I came up with it.
Awesome. We're going to start saying Ant on the broadcast. Or do you want us to say Anthony?
It doesn't matter to me. You
Okay.
can say Ant. Either
All
way.
right. Well, as we continue to talk to Anthony, Steve is here from Southwestern University. A lot of areas that you guys are excelling at. For you on a personal level, what do you think are some things, where do you feel are some areas that you may be able to improve on, Anthony?
I would say staying focused more. Like Coach Austin always says, compartmentalize. Because like a lot of times I'm dealing with stuff in the classroom, stuff at home, stuff on the field, and like when I'm able to do that, I'm able to reach a whole nother potential that I have. So.
Awesome. Well, a lot of games so far this season, 9 games. We're through one final game here in Georgetown. What's been your favorite moment this year as a junior?
This year, favorite moment have to be the touchdown because I haven't scored one, so that was my
Nice.
favorite moment.
Hey, it's always good, man. You start saving the best for last,
Yes,
but
sir.
next year as a senior, now you've got the touchdown, so you guys are going to have to start the best at the first, man.
Yeah.
So I think by next year, you talk about coming in next week, and I think next year, if things continue well the way that they have for you, I think we're going to see a lot more touchdowns from you, Anthony. So we're excited about your athleticism and the play on the field that you bring to the team. Can you talk about, with that final game now, next week, what's going through your mind right now? What are your thoughts on that?
We already know. TLU is a huge game in Southwestern's history, and we actually beat them my freshman year to win a championship. So I know their blood is boiling. They're ready to get at us, and we're ready to get at them. So it should be a good game, and we're coming in doing the same thing we've been doing every week, preparing the right way, and doing the things that we need to do. So yeah, we're ready for them this week.
So you've been here at Southwestern for several years now. What's the transition over the years been now from a freshman and sophomore, now a junior? What's that transition been like for you?
It's a little different. Like my freshman year, I was doing a lot of learning and up under the older guy's wing, and now I'm the older guy, so I'm having to teach the younger guys the tradition and the culture here at Southwestern. So.
Who's been some of your influences so far in your life? Not particularly on the team, but just folks that have helped you get to where you're at today, Anthony.
I have to say my mom and dad. They sacrifice so much in what they do, and they putting me in Southwestern was difficult for them because I come from a family, we don't have much money, but we make it work with what we have, and I just have to say that their sacrifices and what they do has made me the man I am today.
Awesome. Let's give it up for Anthony's parents, man. That's great, man. That's awesome. And for the dads, too. We gave it up for the moms a while ago, so we got to show the dads a little love, too, man. Well, where do you want to be after college? You talked about switching to kinesiology. Where would you like to be, Anthony?
I would like to attend PT school. I don't know at which school yet, but I would like to attend PT school and one day open up my own physical therapist facility. So
Awesome, man. Well, finally, of course, as we always say, Mickey over there behind that camera. We're now at 3.2 million views here on YouTube after Anthony got up here. They started hearing about that GPA and, all those honors, and they said, we got to see this guy. Who do you want us to send a shout-out to? A little love tonight, man.
Shout out to all my friends and family at home. My All Gas No Breaks family. That's my workout family, the people I work out with. Who else? Shout out Channelview. And that's pretty much it.
Awesome. Well, we're going to give a shout-out back to you. Let's give it up one more time for Anthony Stevens. Appreciate you being here tonight, young man.
I appreciate y'all for having me.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to stop and take another quick break. Don't go anywhere, folks, as we will talk more about what's going on at Southwestern University here in our third segment. We've got some great news, some exciting things going on at the university. We'll also thank our sponsors. Stay with us. SU Football Weekly with Coach Joe Austin continues here on SHN Sports. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to SU Football Weekly with Coach Joe Austin. This is our third segment where we briefly go over some of the exciting things happening throughout Southwestern University. For the first time in program history, the Southwestern University men's soccer team traveled down to San Antonio, and they played the University of Mary Hardin-Baylor. Actually, they're playing the University of Mary Hardin-Baylor at Trinity this Saturday, as they have earned an NCAA tournament bid. Congratulations to the soccer team. For the men's soccer team, I think that is great. And for the first time in program history, so very excited. Good luck and congratulations to the men's soccer team. The women's soccer team, they fell by 1 goal to Trinity in their championship match on November the 4th. The ladies women's soccer finished the season 11-6, 8-3 in conference play. They earned the second seed. Let's give a congratulations to the women's soccer team as well. Congratulations, lady, on a very successful season. Nothing to be ashamed of, finishing, making Southwestern University proud. For more information on all the great things going on at Southwestern University, of course, you can visit southwesternpirates.com. Well, of course, these broadcasts and all the great things that go on at Southwestern University and the athletics couldn't be made possible without the wonderful sponsors. Our platinum-level sponsors this season, Ty Gibson, Blake Nicholson with Minuteman Press and Waterboy Graphics, Mighty Fine Burgers, Fries, and Shakes, Roger Chappell, Berkshire Hathaway Home. Roger, you here? Roger! He ran off. He's here, though. So we appreciate you, Roger. You got one more week, friends, as there will be a show next week. And the final show of the season, please come out and support these shows. There's been a lot of folks this season, and we would love to have you here. We also want to thank our good friends at First Texas Bank, H-E-B, Mama Foo's Asian House, Rudy's Country Store and Barbecue, and the Sheraton Austin Georgetown Hotel and Conference Center. Our gold sponsors this season, CJ's Catering, Double Dave's Pizza, Primerica Financial Solutions, R Bank, Randolph Brooks Federal Credit Union, Schlotzsky's Austin Eatery, Southstar Bank, St. David's Georgetown Hospital, Texel Credit Union, and Turnip Seed Real Estate Group, the silver sponsors this year here for Southwestern University, Antioch, Georgetown, Chick-fil-A, Georgetown Commercial Properties, and the Georgetown Shirt Company. Thank you, Sandy and Craig Mooney, for all that you do here in Georgetown. Be Creative is a platinum or a bronze sponsor. Also, Boomtown Escapes, Valerie Nicholson. We also want to thank Chisholm Trail Pediatrics, the City of Georgetown, Don Hewlett Chevrolet, Texas True, Eagles Wings Home Services, Gary Brown, CPA, Georgetown Title, Hillstone at Wolf Ranch Apartments, John F. Lewis, CPA, State Farm Featherstone Agencies, and last but certainly not least, our good friends at Upstream Investment Partners. Let's give it up one more time for all the sponsors. Thank you for what you do here with Southwestern University. Well, here in a few moments, I'll bring up my color analyst, Galen Welnicki. Coach Joe Austin will join us back here at the table as SU Football Weekly with Coach Joe Austin continues. We'll look ahead to the game coming up this Saturday. Stay with us, friends. We'll be right back. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to our fourth and final segment here on SU Football Weekly with Coach Joe Austin. I'm Rob Hipp. Thanks for joining us here this evening in beautiful Georgetown, Texas. Southwestern will close out the season this Saturday, and you can't get any better than closing out the season right here at home in Georgetown versus a very tough and competitive and ranked Texas Lutheran team as they're receiving votes now The game kickoff set for 1 p.m. Last year, the Pirates defeated Texas Lutheran on the road 51-33. Coach, excited about the game, excited, kind of heartbroken that we're down to the last game of the season. It's been a great season, but talk a little bit about this matchup, Coach.
Sure. Before we do that, though, Jesse Blanchard, our sports information director, has the final word on the stats. In case some folks are curious, they're going to get the shovel pass touchdown from Markel fixed, and they are going to score correctly David Brandenburg's play as a pass. So it'll be a score record 94-yard touchdown pass. And, of course, that gives Fred 7 touchdowns, which is the most anyone's had in the ASC. And I guess I need to send the conference office an update on my nomination for Fred, because now he's a leader in another stat category. I don't think coaches really care about all that. They either like who they like, but they give you a chance to give a blurb about everyone on your roster before coaches vote. So another feather in his cap.
Well,
so you asked me about thoughts on the Texas Lutheran
yes,
game,
sir.
And we kind of set up some of this before. Very good team, 7-2. Their only losses are to the 2 top 10 teams, Hardin-Simmons and Mary Hardin-Baylor. They defeated ETBU and knocked them out of the national rankings. They defeated Louisiana College, who snuck by us this year. They're having a very good season, and they're going to be coming in very confident. They've been beating people by some pretty good margins lately. And they're very good on offense and defense. They've got the number 2 defense in our conference. They passed Hardin-Simmons after we had a really good game against Hardin-Simmons, so hopefully we can knock TLU down a few notches. We're going to need to do that. Number 2 rushing defense, number 2 passing defense. On offense, they're very good also. Kyle Grona is a senior quarterback that's played a lot and is very good. They have the number 2 running back in the conference, several weapons on the perimeter. Very, very good football team. It's also the team that is probably our biggest natural rivalry. Our very first game ever in Generation 2 of Southwestern football was against these guys in September of 2013. We played them every year. We had the one year where we played them twice. We've beaten them 3 times in a row, and they've been some really high-scoring, competitive, fun game. They're fun at the end when you win them, when they end up being high-scoring. But last year it was back and forth, a lot of scoring. We're able to pull away late. With the help of a defensive touchdown and a really good second half offensively. So I think our guys, as Ant and Aaron talked about, they know this is going to be a really tough game. They're very good on offense and they're very good on defense. We're going to have to play well and play that team game we talked about. We can't turn the ball over. We can't commit penalties. We can't extend drives. We can't put the ball on the ground ourselves or throw it to them. It may come down with 2 very good teams to who has the better team game, and that's what we're aiming to have.
And from everything you're saying and from what we looked at, this is a Texas Lutheran team that is much improved over last year.
They were good last year. They won 6 games last year. They came in 6-3, and of course we knocked them off to end up and ended up 6-4, and we ended up 6-4. They're continuing to get better. Second-year head coach who's really kind of revamped some things. They've been a good program for the better part of 7-8 years now. Playoff team a few times in the past. They actually won the SCAC every year they were in it until we took it away from them the last year of the conference. So they've been a good team for quite a while.
And so this is kind of the South 35 rivalry. We've got the North 35 with UMHB, but I would consider Texas Lutheran more of a rivalry. And so now we've got the Battle of 35 going, I guess, Coach.
It's the Toll 130.
Toll 130, there you go, yeah.
Literally, Seguin is at the end, and we're at the beginning.
Right at the beginning, yeah.
And so it's the Toll 130 Bowl.
You got to pay the toll on 130, though. So, well, Coach, it's been an exciting season. We're through 9 games, 1 game remaining. Just as I asked the players, what's going through your mind and kind of your assessment through these 9 games so far this season, Coach?
Well, I make my assessments at the end of the season. I'm still thinking about this opponent and about what I can do to help our players be at their best and what I can equip and empower them to do and how I can support them. Both of my roles as head coach and as the offensive play caller, trying to make sure we can give our guys the best opportunity to win. So I don't have a debrief. We can do all the debrief stuff next week. I'm still just thinking about Texas Lutheran and what I can do for this week.
To be successful, what do you have to take away from them?
The football.
Yeah. Well, that's the basic correct answer.
You always want to make teams one-dimensional, and if you can stop them from running and force them into some obvious passing situations and some long yard situations, things are going to tend to favor you. Most 400-yard passing games in football are for losing quarterbacks because you're behind. So we that's been our formula. It will always be our formula. It's a formula of every team from Alabama through Pee Wee. If you can stop teams from running, your defense has a chance to be successful, and that's what we're going to try to take away from them. They're a very challenging team to run on, so the more that we can establish our run game, the better that'll support our play-action passes, and the better it will allow us to get all our guys involved, to get Brandenburg involved, and Landry Bray and Anthony and all the different guys in our group of running backs. We're just really try to get some run game going so that they have to really put a lot of emphasis on that, and that'll open up some other things for us.
When they play run defense, do they draw in or do they play the whole wide?
Oh, no, they load things up. They have a similar philosophy to us. Neither team has the top to bottom best athletes in the conference. The top two teams have the best athletes. Now, these two teams have very good football players, but we have to do a little bit more in terms of committing personnel into the box. There's teams in our conference that can play a 5-man box, and everyone defeats their blocker, and they go make tackles. Both of our teams have good players, but they have to commit at least even numbers. Sometimes you have to have an advantage of one unblocked player to stop the other team's run game, and both teams are going to commit to that in this game.
Galen, final questions?
That's it.
Coach, I think that just about wraps it up here this afternoon. I wanted to give you an opportunity. Any final closing remarks from you, Coach?
Well, it's going to be a competitive game, and our guys have their minds wrapped around how competitive we expect it to be. Now, it'd be great just to pull away from them. We pulled away from them in the second half last year, but it was certainly for 3 quarters, it was very tight. And it's a big game for us, and we approach every game the same. But when you get down to the last week in the year where you're not going to go to the postseason, you can really dial in on the fact that there's nothing else to think about, nothing else to look for. As Ant said, we got to compartmentalize when it's time for football this week, and just hone ourselves around trying to do the absolute best we can. One thing we are playing for is this would be our 3rd consecutive winning season, and we've had 2 winning seasons since we've had a full football team. Now, we've clinched the fact that we have not had a losing season since we had a full football team, but it's for sure nice to be able to say, both in recruiting and to puff your own chest out, that we've had a 3rd consecutive winning season versus a 3rd season of 500 or better. So we're trying to play for that also.
Well, Coach, it's been a fun season so far, and for us it's been a true privilege and blessing to be here with Southwestern University. Some exciting things. We've got one more game. We'll talk about some of those exciting things that we're working on for next year. Now, last week we had the capability of doing our field cam. We're going to try that again this week from Georgetown. There's some technical limitations there for us to be able to do that, but those are some of the enhancements that our goal is to continue to build and really put on a professional production, not just for the university because it's important, but for the student athletes. We want to highlight their very best, as Southwestern always reaches for their very best, and that's our goal here at SHN. So again, Coach, thank you for this season. Excited about one more game, and excited to be able to bring that game to you with Galen Welnicki here. Friends, wanted to remind you as we close here tonight, please subscribe to us on YouTube. If you're watching the YouTube stream right now, simply click on subscribe. For those of you later on, you can visit youtube.com/SHN Sports and the number 1. That's youtube.com/SHN Sports numero uno. And you can just go to that, click on subscribe, and you are good to go. Once again, let's give it up for the Sheraton. Thank you, Sheraton, for having us tonight. These guys are so awesome, letting us come here every single week. The bar staff, everyone here has been phenomenal. We're excited about it and looking forward to one more show here before we close out the season. But we got to play one more game, and very excited about that. Friends, wanted to remind you, please come out, support the Pirates for their final home game and a final game of the season. Kickoff scheduled for 1 p.m. here at Birkelbach in Georgetown, Texas. As I end every broadcast, I want to remind you tonight, friends, we're not strong enough alone to make it our own. We need each other. Provide a word of encouragement. Lend a hand of support. Somebody out there tonight needs you. Until then, we will see you on Saturday. Go Pirates.
Come on.